The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.
What's up, everybody? I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
And this is the Magic Mike Show, episode 422, Mr. Somich.
Turkey huzzah!
I thought maybe do a gobble gobble huzzah. That also works. Yeah, happy early Thanksgiving, everybody. If you're joining us live, thank you so much for joining us. But we are previewing the Thanksgiving Day card on Thursday, November 24th at Del Mar. Only 8 races, so when you do the late pick 5, you're covering most of the cards. So it's like this is almost an entire card preview. But it's exciting because 3 of these 5, Mike, they're on the turf.
And they'll stay on the turf because it's California, which is kind of nice as well. As we get hit by snow and rain on the East Coast, the West Coast stays sunny and not necessarily warm, but warm enough to get some quality turf racing in. It's
going to be exciting. We got a turf sprint. We've got a grade 3, and then the dirt races. Woof. I didn't know we could go. I'm being serious. I didn't know we could actually go that low at Del Mar. But yeah, we're going to go pretty low in some of these.
We are. We have an interesting drop or two. I think we're both against, I'm happy that you are. I like the style. I saw your ticket. I like the style that you're playing that race. I'm completely leaving off 2 of the horses that I think that you considered leaving off. But it's one of those spots where a couple of these turf races could end up chalky. The stakes race specifically, you're going to have a horse that's 5-2 on the morning line, probably going off sub 2-1. I think you can find a way around. I understand if you want a single, but that means you have to find some value in other parts of the sequence. I think we have an absolutely atrocious favorite. A horse I wouldn't be shocked if it won, but it's going to go off at like 3-5, and I wouldn't touch the horse sub 5-1.
Oh boy, yeah. We'll get into that in a little bit, but Mike, like I said, the Del Mar late pick 5, we're going to be previewing that, and it's a big week of racing all across the country. Churchill Downs, Aqueduct, Fairgrounds, Azia Park is tomorrow. Mahoning Valley was today, so we're going to have previews for every day except Wednesday because the parks racing was just atrocious. But other than Wednesday, every single day this week, we've got stakes coverage at racingdudes.com and youtube.com/racingdudes. Without further ado, Mike, let's get into Del Mar Thursday late pick 5. Riders up. All right, here we go, Mike. The first leg of the late pick 5 at Del Mar on Thanksgiving, Thursday, November 24th. Race 4, a field of 8 males, 3 and up, going a mile and a 16th on the turf course. They're in for $25,000 tags. It is open. They just do weight allowances based on how often you've been winning. Where are you going on top?
Man, I've liked the 6-horse Opry for a while. I think we actually finally found our friends the last couple races. Career 17 races, 3 wins, 4 seconds. But the last 3 races, 1 win, 2 seconds. That's since we entered this claiming level. It was in 25,000 claimers last time. Lost to Southern King, but the trip was significantly worse than Southern King's trip. I don't love the price at 2-1, but this is clearly the most talented horse in this field. So I'm not sure how you get around the 6 Opry. So I put the 6 on top.
Yeah, I was back and forth about which horse to put on top. We both went too deep. It's interesting because 4 of the 8 horses in here are 3-1 or under, and the other 4 are 20-1 or over. And we didn't go, or I'm sorry, 12-1. I'm sorry, Niles channel. Don't mean to offend you. But we're going short here. We're using 2 horses at short prices because this doesn't feel like a spot to pick a bomb. I didn't put Opry second, but I thought you nailed it. He's right at the right class level. And you notice he was voided last time out, the 25K claim. So he would have been claimed for the 3rd straight race, and really the 3rd straight time he was ever offered for a claim in his career. He was voided, but that was just back literally a month ago as of today on Monday when we're recording this. In California, when you have a voided claim, especially when you're 6-year-old gelding, your ass goes right on a vet's watch list, and they watch you very closely when you work out, and you have to pass the vet's test or the vet's eyes to be able to continue racing. That was just a month ago. He has 2 very solid works, including the best of 38 on the Santa Anita dirt. So I think all signs are good for Opry at 2-1. This is where we're going to diverge. My 3rd choice is who you went with. Tell me about the 1 First Premio.
Yeah, my 3rd choice is who you went with, the 7. So to me, it was who's the best closer. That's really what I looked at. Opry is going to be out on the lead with Southern King. That leaves First Primero and Overdue coming from off the pace. So it's all about which off the pace horse you want. I assume you ended up in a similar handicap as me where it's okay, Opry over Southern King. Now I need to pick either First Primero or Overdue in this spot. And to me, First Primero is the one that I went with. Dropping in class here, never been offered this cheap at $25,000 level before, has a lot of consistent efforts, doesn't win as much as I would like, and that probably is the biggest knock specifically in the last 2 years, because this horse is 7 for 34 lifetime, but just 1 for 12 in the last 2 years, which means that we were 6 for 22 through 2020, and we really tailed off a little bit. However, a lot of good efforts, gets close to the front, doesn't always get the job done, but at least gets close. And I like the distance here. We haven't been in a mile and 16th in a long time. The last time we ran in a mile and 16th was back on February 27th, 2021. You see some mile races. You see a mile and an 8th race. You see some mile and 3/16th races. I'm sorry, last time was May 31st, 2021. But this distance specifically, First Primero, 3 for 8 lifetime. So I think this mile and a 16th distance is a good distance for First Primero. You're going to get the pace set up. If it's not Opry or Southern King up front, I think First Primero is the horse that has the best shot at coming from off it to get the job done here.
He and the 7 Overdue, who, like you had mentioned, was my second pick and your third here. They're both coming out of the same race, dropping out of that 40K level, going a mile at Santa Anita. In an interestingly run race, Mecklenburg, your winner, went gate to wire and was at least 2 lengths ahead of every single horse at every single point of call. And in that race, you saw First Premio was chasing. He basically was leading the second charge there, and Overdue was right there with him. I think they were both a little too forwardly placed in that spot. So the fact that they both showed some speed and then quit, especially with Overdue, I'm not worried about that, because like you said, we're both looking for the horse we think is coming from off the pace. For me, I went to 3 back when it was a non-winners of 1 race in the last year, 32K tag. Reese Bully was aboard the 7 for Phil D'Amato at the win, coming from off the pace. You scratch off that next one, it was rained off. It was weird. It was rained off the turf. So forget that. And then I talked about his last race there. For me, I think this is where he fits. But Phil D'Amato and Umberto Rispoli, specifically on turf at Del Mar, 28% winners, 63% in the money, and a 231 ROI. I mean, you know that Rispoli's riding a lot of shorter priced horses because it's D'Amato on turf at Del Mar. So that's where I went. But again, if you're listening to this, if you couldn't decide, if you want to go short, I'm singling in the third leg. Boy, if you want to eat some chalk here, 167, I don't think that's a bad play either, Mike.
Yeah, it's interesting because the Overdue has races that win this. They're just not, they don't show up as consistently as First Primeros. I think that was the other part of it for me, is that I know what effort I'm going to get from First Primero. Overdue, you seem to have these high highs and these low lows. And so it's hey, do you want to assume you're getting that high, or do you want the more consistent horse in this spot? But look, I think any way you look at this, we're both against the 8 Southern King, who's 5-2 on the morning line. Got a perfect trip last time going gate to wire. Yep. And still Opry would have beaten him without the trouble Opry had. I think it was mid-turn essentially. So you have trouble for the horse that we're both playing. I don't like Southern King at all here at 5-2. So I think if you can avoid Southern King, go too deep here, it sets up for decent ticket structure.
Yeah, and I think the fact that we're also going a mile in the 16th, I think that he's never successfully gone a mile in the 16th. So I'm with you. I think Southern King got just the right setup last time. Even though we both love Hector Barrios, we're not going to use him here. Speaking of horses that you don't always know what they're going to do, let's look at the second leg of the late pick 5 at Del Mar. Race 5. Oh, boy. I'm sorry. Yeah, this is going to be a race 5. 7 fillies and mares, 4 and up. They're going 5.5 furlongs on the dirt. They're in for $8,000 tags. I honestly, I'm not being mean. I didn't think Santa Anita and Del Mar wrote Turfway Park low sal races, but here we are. It's hard. Where are you going on top?
I thought this was the toughest race in the sequence, which is wild because it's 7 and it's it shouldn't be that hard to pick a 6 furlong dirt sprint. I put the 2 Roses Are Blue on top for the simple reason that the 2 is the only horse that makes up any ground late, and this is a race filled with horses that love to quit, love to go, and this just screams meltdown to me. You have the 1 horse who's going to want to be forwardly placed with Maldonado up. You've got the 3 horse who likes to be forwardly placed, not a ton of speed. You've got the 5 horse who's going to go. You've got the 6 horse who wants to go. You've got the 7 horse who wants to go. None of them want to stick around. And the only horse I didn't mention is that 4. Well, the 4 sucks. So that leaves me with the 2 horse, who's the only one who wants to actually close any ground here. I'm getting 6-1. I can point back to a couple races. We're also dropping down from the $20,000 level all the way to the bottom of this $8,000 level. We were successful at the distance, 2 for 4. We have a win over Del Mar. In a race where there's a lot to dislike, there's enough to like about the 2 for me to put it on top.
And you're getting a nice price at 6-1. I didn't use, but I'm not going to poo-poo anybody for saying anything about any horses in here because if you like a horse, go for it. I went with the 5 on top. Where's Frankie? 9-5. Jonathan Wong bringing this horse back in, was at Turfway Park and then Canterbury Park for a long time. 4 wins and 9 for 11 in the money at this distance. I think that's pretty key. She's 7 for 12 on fast dirt, which you know she's going to get. Ramon Vasquez is riding. He's one of the top riders in California easily right now. She's fast early, and I like that we're cutting back from actually routing a mile at Canterbury last time out. And we lost to a horse in Midnight Garden for the second straight time. Before that, she won 4 straight races. And this is the first time that she's actually eligible to be claimed since January 1st when she was in for $8,000. And that was going 2 turns at Golden Gate Fields. I think this is I think this is actually an easier spot than what she was facing with the Canterbury horses, the Turfway Park horses. So I went with her here. I think that she's fast early, and everyone else I think is going to quit either in the turn or right at the quarter pole. I think she's still going to have enough left to keep going.
This is the class of the field, right? Like, as much up as that sounds.
Perfectly said.
And then she's the classiest filly in this field of no class. And so 5 is the other one I end up going with here. I think Where's Frankie makes a ton of sense. Like you mentioned, dropping into the claiming ranks for the first time in a long time. And there are warts with all these other horses. Where's Frankie, likes to win. I don't think needs the lead to win, which is important because there is, like I mentioned, a lot of speed in this spot. I think Dennis brings up a good point. This is Jonathan Wong's bread and butter. He's very good in these type of races. When he places horses here, he does so very diligently. So I like the fact that we're coming in here. We're trying to get a win at Santa Anita. He doesn't mind if this horse gets claimed because we've gone through a lot of the conditions you could with Where's Frankie without trying to get back in these lower level claiming stuff. So the 5 makes a ton of sense, deserving favorite. I'm only going to go 2 deep here. I'm going to take a shot with the 2, who I think is the right price with the right setup. And I'm going to take the 5, who I think is the classiest horse in this $8,000 claimers.
I love that. The other one I went with is the 1 Righteously at 3-1. And I almost singled the 5 here, but I was like, I can't single, even if it's Jonathan Wong and it fits, I can't single at this level. But we've got the 1 Righteously here. It's the inside speed. Edwin Maldonado is, in my mind, the best gate jockey in California. The horse is 2 for 5 at Del Mar, 4 for 21 on fast dirt, 3 for 11 at the distance, and 6 for 11 in the money. So I think that there are races you can point at where, yes, it fits. Yes, she could win this. It is crazy that she's at the end of her 4-year-old season and she's making her 28th career start, but she's a battle horse. She's not a superstar battle horse, but she is a battle horse. So she hasn't been down to this $8,000 level ever. If you look at the time when she was up for 10K at Los Al going 5.5, she had a pretty good effort. Came from off the pace and just missed by half length. I had to make a case for it. It was stretching it. I could feel myself stretching it, but to me, this is who fits in second.
Yeah, I don't hate it. I had the 7 and the 1 as the other considerations for me, both of which are just, hey, if 2 horses miss the break and they get loose, they could win type horses, right? I mean, that's really what you could see here, where if the 7, I think, is actually the key to the race, because I think the 7 is the fastest horse, but I don't think that all 6 horses on the inside let the 7 clear, right? So if the 7 does clear, all of a sudden the 7 gets a little dangerous because we're dropping down in class and we're showing speed against better. So I don't hate the idea of the 7. The 1 is the other one, also dropping down a little bit here. It has that rail speed where if the 7 doesn't break, Maldonado is going to try and get this 1 horse out and try and go gate to wire. So the 1 and the 7 are the wild cards to me, because I do think both have enough speed to clear the rest of the field without the other one involved. So if it comes to Thursday and either the 1 or the 7 scratched, I maybe end up using whichever one's left, because they may be able to take a field with speed in a lot of spots, but mediocre speed in a lot of spots, gate to wire.
Great point on the pace setup there. The 7, we both avoided the 7, I think, for the same reason. A race you actually can say with, true heart and dedication. The 3rd race here, we have a true classy horse, and that is the 7 Sister O'Toole. She's headlining the Grade 3 Red Carpet Handicap, which headlines the Thanksgiving Day card. They're going 1 mile and 3/8 on the turf, and this horse literally just won over this course and distance 2 back in an ungraded stakes race. She's back in for Grand Motion. Reese Bully is back aboard. I singled her here. I know you're going 3 deep, but at least talk to me about Sister O'Toole first.
How often do you see a grade 3 smushed in between an $8,000 and $16,000 claiming races? Like, it's just a very odd pick 3 sequence. We're like, hey, let's go 8K claimers, 5.5 on the dirt. Then let's have a grade 3 on the turf. And then let's throw a 16 non-winners of 2 back on the dirt to round out our nice little pick 3 with our Thursday Thanksgiving Day feature. Yeah, look, I put Sister O'Toole on top, but I don't love this horse just from a price perspective. 5-2 on the morning line. You're probably going to get sub 2-1 on this spot. There's not a bunch of world beaters in here. This is probably one of the weaker grade 3s I've seen in a while, but Sister O'Toole doesn't like to win. I mean, that's one of my biggest knocks on this horse. 2 for 13 in the last 2 years, been in a ton of graded stakes, but struggles to hit the board in those graded stakes when you've seen him. Now we're coming back, and yes, has won over this distance, this field, this distance, but beat Scarbia in that race by a half a length. I'm not using Scarbia here. So if I'm not using the 6, I have to think the 7 has at least some chinks in the armor there, especially at the price you're going to end up getting.
For me, it was for Sister O'Toole. I went back and watched the CTT and TOC stakes, and I thought that she was better than Scarabia was. I know it was a half length, but for me, she had her measured pretty much the entire stretch and wasn't going to let Scarabia get past her. I also really like the Dowager Stakes at Keeneland. You remember Temple City Terror? We watched that and we're like, she could go to the Breeders' Cup Filly Mare Turf. Like, not with a big chance, but it was such an impressive effort at Keeneland that we were blown away by that. And you don't have a Temple City Terror here. You're not going to have a horse like Luck Money that you have to chase down. And we're cutting back a furlong here. So you see that she'd flattened a little bit. All right, we're second off a little break, just like we were when we came in for the CTT and TOC stakes. And we're going to be at this distance, which she seems to like. Yes, she had trouble winning a lot earlier in her career. But when we ship an East Coast horse to California, you can have some confidence here. So I went with her here. Who was the other 2 horses that you used?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head there, too, right before I jump into that. It's the East Coast horse coming west. We talked about a Grand Motion. I think it was last week on the show. When he brings these horses over here, they're live. They're tough to beat, and that's the case here with Sister O'Toole. I went to our boy Barrios Hector on the 3 Quattrelle. Quattroel, sure, there it is. I really like the last race. I think this 4-year-old is starting to really come into her own, and that was one of my main reasons for liking her here. If you look at the last 4 races since a long layoff, she keeps getting a little bit better and a little bit better and a little bit better. Since Barrios came aboard, 1 win, 1 second, has a second over this Del Mar turf in 3 efforts. I don't think the distance is going to be an issue at all. I thought that she actually flourished going that extra 1/8 of a mile last time, going from a mile to a mile and 1/8. I don't think these extra 2/8 will hurt her in any way, shape, or form. I think she has enough tactical speed to sit close, but still be able to kick on when they turn for home. And so I like the setup here for the 3 Quattrelle. And then I went to the 8 horse here as well, Queen of the Temple. I realize we've lost to Divot Day. We've lost to Dramatizer, a couple horses in here. All of that was mid-season here. Blacker's second off the layoff is very good, 17% second off on the layoff in these type of kind of situations. The fact that we came out in the grade 1 Rodeo Drive, that kind of blew me away. It told you how good this horse was doing, because that is a very aggressive placement for Blacker to go right into the grade 1 in that spot. Now we're dropping down to a grade 3. Again, I don't have any issues with the distance. I think this horse is all systems go here, and I like Temple City's going longer. I like the second off the layoff aspect of it, and I like the price. I like the 6-1 price on it. So see if we can get around Sister O'Toole here. I think you got to kind of have to use Sister O'Toole, but I like the idea of trying to take a couple shots against, especially since we're just going to completely leave off the favorite in the next.
Queen of the Temple, Rodeo Drive should not be a grade 1 race anymore. Going to Vegas has won it 2 straight years, in both years. Who she beat? Not that great. She beat Fluffy Socks, who didn't hit the board, and you correctly were like, don't play Fluffy Socks anywhere in the Forever Together stakes. I think it was at Aqueduct. By the way, great job. You had Mr. Karis winning that at a price. Good job.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, Fluffy Socks scratched, so it made it a lot easier to get around her. But yes, Mr. Karis. Yeah, that made it. That's why
I saw the order of finish, and they just had her listed at like 6th or something.
Yeah, no, she ended up scratching. But Mr. Carr's there, 8-1 on the morning line. Horse went gate to wire as expected. That was a nice price there. Look, you're right. That race was not wonderful. I'm more worried about what Blacker thinks of the horse and the placement there, because that to me shows the confidence in the horse to go into that level of a race. And then now you're coming back on a grade 3, second off later in the 4-year-old season. All reasons you think that the horse could improve. And I kind of like the fact that Queen of the Temple runs her career high buyer in that race, where she is being pushed outside of her comfort zone. So it kind of validates why Blacker put her there. Wasn't good enough to get the job done. Don't love the fact that her 2 best buyers come in graded stakes when she didn't win. We talk about that a lot, where those could be kind of faulty sometimes underneath. But the fact that we went there, she ran well. Now we're coming back in another grade stakes tells me that he believes in Queen of the Temple, so I will too.
A horse I wanted to use, and I'm gonna have to rework my ticket if the 2 scratches. Slightly worried about the 5, Bell Street Bridie, because you have a horse that was running forwardly placed consistently overseas, going long distances, and Flavien Prat is hopping aboard. It's interesting that these owners, Red Baron's Barn, Rancho Temescal, who also have the 3, when they do these overseas purchases with Euros, they send them to Jeff Mullins. Jeff Mullins has great stats in spots like this first time North America. We're going to talk about one in 2 races here, but there's all these things to like. There's something weird. 0 recorded works, not even DRF or Equibase, not on the turf, the training track, nothing since coming to California. And then her career best time form, which came last time out, was 86. You translate it to a buyer, you're looking at low 70s, like low to mid 70s at really best. So, and the circuit she was running on in Great Britain, she wasn't at Ascot, she wasn't at York, like she was not at the top tracks. And yet, if the 2 scratches, I think she's lone speed and it's Prat aboard, and I'm a sucker for that.
Yeah, this one's just a mystery because you mentioned this horse is in Glatt's barn, right? It's not in Mullins' barn, which is a head scratcher in itself. And then Prat takes them out, which surprises you. I mean, but you look at the stats here, and just Glatt is 0 for 10 first time in North America. His barn is ice cold right now, 1 for 15 at the meet. I mean, it's hard to swallow what I think will be less than 4-1. Because I wouldn't be shocked if this is one of those horses that starts to get some buzz and people, it's the European coming over, and you get Prat aboard, and all of a sudden this is your second choice at 5-2. And then I really don't have any interest in this horse. It's one of those where it's like, hey, look, and we'll talk about this in the next race. If the 4 wins, I lose. I'm sorry, the 5 wins, I lose. That's fine. I have no issue losing to a horse like this who I think is going to get overbet. I hear you on the lone speed side. I never trust first-time European horses as lone speed because the pace is just so different from the Europe circuit, specifically to the Del Mar circuit. It's just like, how can you realistically say, well, if a horse is forwardly placed in Europe and there's no speed in the U.S., that horse is still going to make the lead? It's tough because they go a lot slower over there. The ground is very different, especially without the workouts, which I thought was very odd as well. How do you not have any workouts of record on either place? What do you base this horse's movement off of?
That's exactly. And then part of me, like the conspiracy theorist and the one that loves Flavien Prat and Mark Glatt, honestly, is hoping that they're like, we have a Lamborghini with a Maserati underneath it, like in this horse, and we're going to hide her. And then we put her in this stakes in this stakes race. Yeah. For her debut in America, and look the F out. But show me one race on her page that remotely hints that that's possible.
Wouldn't this horse be in the Mullins barn if that was the case, though?
Or D'Amato, like if this horse is with D'Amato, by the way, she's like, I think we're looking at Sister O'Toole might not be the favorites.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like, it's such a head scratcher. All of these different, variables line up in such an odd manner that you're like, well, I guess I could include her because she's the unknown. But like, based on if this horse was 15-1 morning line, I thought was legitimately going to go off at 10-1, completely different conversation. Yeah, but we're sitting at a 4-1 morning line. It's probably gonna go off at 5-2, and I'll lose if that horse wins.
Oof, I'm with you. All right, Mike, let's move on. At least we're on the same page here. That makes me feel better. Penultimate leg of the late pick 5 at Del Mar on Thursday, November 24th, race 7. We're back on the dirt. 9 males, 3 and up, not 8. 9 males, 3 and up, sprinting 6 furlongs. 9 winners of 2 lifetime, like Mike said earlier. Screw this race. I hit the L button.
Well, I mean, we have to start out with Nolo Contesto, right? That has to be the beginning of this conversation because you've got a horse that has never been in for a tag, that ran in the Grade 1 Santa Anita Derby, the Grade 3 Matt Winn Derby, is coming off of a layoff that is a little over a year at this point, essentially last seen October 16, 2021, dropping from, N1X optional, which, by the way, we could not get through that condition for the life of us. We're still 1 for 15 career with 7 seconds. And we're going to be a sub-even money favorite, right?
He was favored against Tiz the Magician. I remember him Tiz the Magician beat this horse at one point. I forgot that he was favored to do it. This is the rare Ronus Sadler horse that can't beat Tiz the Magician on the dirt, apparently. So I'm not bitter about anything. Yeah, no, this horse, if you ignore his debut, which came at Del Mar, he's got 2 seconds and 2 tries here. Both times it was going longer. I'm concerned 6 furlongs. It's like, why 6 furlongs for this horse? He showed some good, if you look at his works, there's bullets. They're deceiving bullets because they're at low sal and it's a quarter horse track, but he did have that 58-3 from the gate. So that tells me he'll be up there early. I just don't. 6 furlongs, Mike, you just need too much turn of foot. I think even at this low basement level, you need enough turn of foot to actually like accelerate at some point. And I don't know that he ever has a button that says go faster. He just goes.
This just screams, especially that last work, 58 bullet. Claim me, but I'm going to suck. Like that's what it screams. Is that like we're taking an unrealistic drop, an overly aggressive drop. We're training the shit out of this horse first off the layoff. Someone dip in and grab this horse because we don't want any part of him anymore. Because if you're Ronus and you're putting this thing in for 16, you're assuming this horse is getting claimed, right? You don't think you're going to be able to then wheel this back into starter allowances or anything like that. You are assuming you're losing this horse.
Yeah, I mean, I count eight other trainers in this race who would love to have a horse like him for 16K that they can run back in starter allowances, run back for 16, 20, 32K. You can get a lot of life out of this horse if he has anything left in the tank. He's about to turn 7.
And the price is, what do you think Nolo Contesto goes off at?
7 to 5.
I mean, I think it's going to be shorter than that. And all of that means I have no interest in betting this horse. If this horse can win, again, if it wins, it beats me, I'm fine with it. Because in the long run, you will lose money betting horses like Nolo Contesto in this spot. It's not a good spot to be betting on this horse.
Can we talk about my top pick, who is one of the 4 that you used here, and is a big price on the rail, Rogue Sun at 15 to 1. I think this horse is really sneaky here. We're seeing him second time facing winners. He came back from a long break, won at the maiden 20 level, which is the same thing as this level. Ghost now winners a 2 lifetime against 32K at Del Mar. He had a wide trip throughout. It wasn't his spot, but the way that he won from the rail, saving ground and rallying, going 6 furlongs at Santa Anita, it gives me a lot of hope here. And something that you taught me too, Mike, is to watch for what they do with the horse when they claim them out of a maiden race. Claims them for 20, right back up to 32. We're like, hey, we think this horse has got some ability. Okay, we're not that good or not that good yet. Back down to 16K, but it's a Calbred that they continue to run in these open ranks. So that all kind of caught my attention. These horses, most of them will quit hard at the half mile pole. This horse we know is going to keep coming.
Yeah, I like the one quite a bit here. It's my second pick in the race. That race 2 back, like you mentioned, breaking from the rail, being able to close, I thought was really impressive, especially off the layoff. That was the first time that horse had ran in 6 months, only his second career start. We talk about what you win at claiming, maiden claiming 20, and then jumps up to 32 non-2L. That's a pretty significant jump. Now we're back down to 16,000 N2L. That's more of what that 20 maiden claimers is going to fill with generally. I mean, so the rule of thumb is half the maiden claiming price is the equal level as the claiming price, right? So 20K maiden claimer, 10K claimer. 16 is about the right level because of how the claiming works out in California and the purse structure and the amount you can claim horses for. 8 is too low for this horse. 12, they don't run that often. So the 16 is kind of that sweet spot of what I would expect. And I like the fact that we've shown that professionalism and been able to come from off the pace. There's quite a bit of pace in here, especially if we think Nolo Contesto is going to go, especially if the 9 goes. Outside pace, pushing forward, sets up that rail trip again for the 1 here. So I like the 1 Rogue Sun quite a bit. I had the 3 Nice Guy Clay on top. This horse is only the second time we've seen this horse who's going to be in for this claiming rank. The first time was 2 back at Santa Anita, open claiming company, $32,000 N2X. Every other time faced state bred optional 20K N1X or broke its maiden. We get my boy Barrios Hector aboard. Love him. Love the fact that we're sitting in this spot. I think has the ability to be tactical, like that original win over at Los Alamitos going 5.5 and then make the move. I think that's the trip we're going to look for here. This is by far the weakest field he's faced. So I think the 3 Nice Guy Clay has a big shot in here at 3 to 1.
I had him as my second choice. You got 2 more. Keep going.
Yeah, I'm going to go to the 4 horse next here. So I'm told. First off the claim for Lorenzo Ruiz, 13% overall. He's 16% off the claim. I like the fact that we have a bullet workout at Los Alamitos post-claim, and now we're coming right back here, rolling back into that $16,000 maiden or $16,000 claiming level again. It's a 3 horse who has every right to be able to take a step forward. Interested that we're staying on the dirt here because we've had all these turf races, but we're going to stick it out on the dirt here. This is one of those where first off the claim, I'm willing to take a shot at these horses taking a step forward for a barn, especially when I think that we are going from a barn, Eddie Freeman, not terrible, but to me, not wonderful. And then you jump over here into the Ruiz barn, who's got a higher percentage. I'm hoping that the first off the claim can wake this horse up. Again, another one who has the ability to be tactical and close. And I think that 5.5 is just a little too short last time as well. I mean, this horse is not one that's been forwardly placed at a mile, yet we're only a length and a half off at 5.5. It's logical that we're going to give it up there and quit a little bit. So I think the 6 furlong distance may be a little bit better because you can be close to the pace where they're not going as fast as that 5.5. And then I'm going to round it out with the 7 horse here, Gator Shining. This is Quinn Howley with Rispoli up. This one to me is the big dropper, right? You've got some of the races there at Del Mar where we're in it for this level and didn't show a ton of ability, but now we're getting back here later in the 4-year-old season. I think have seen some significant improvement off of those races. And if I go back to that race back on November 26, 2021, as a 3-year-old at Del Mar, that race is good enough to win this in my mind. And I think this horse has improved quite a bit. So I'm not as worried about the lack of dirt form because there is something in the back that I can point to for it. And again, we're getting back to where our friends are. The last couple of races, I think a little bit over our head. Now we're getting back down to the level that I'm more interested in and has a chance, depending on what Nolo Contesto does, to be the inside speed here as well. I wouldn't be shocked if Gator Shining just sends and tries to hold in this spot. I like the price. I like the jockey. So I'm going to take 4 shots against essentially Nolo Contesto and Saudi, who I think are both horses I have no interest in, who are going to be the 2 shortest prices on the board.
One race that caught my attention for the 7 Gator Shining was almost a year ago to this day, November 26th. So the same Thanksgiving weekend, going 5.5. Still non-winners of 2 lifetime. We've been at this rank for quite a while, but that's okay. Since actually 2 years ago when we won at Del Mar again. But that race right there shows me that this horse can sit there on the front end and not quit out. And that's a big thing is just worrying about these horses. You got to figure out which one isn't just going to throw in the anchor. I want to bring up one horse that I wanted to make sure we talked about, and I'm so glad Bree brought up the number 2 Sayers. And I want to tell this horse because they are literally throwing everything that they can at the wall, hoping something sticks. You have a bug boy in for the 10-pound break. You have a lower claiming tag so that you're in for even lower weight. Blinkers off because blinkers weigh things. So you can, lower weight also to let the horse just go loose. If Aguilar doesn't quarter horse the shit out of Sayers when those gates pop open to try and get a lead and try and get a little bit of distance, never put this guy on a horse again. That's the only way this is winning. This is the trainer is telling you, Jorge Parabon is like, the only way this horse has a chance is just to go. There's a sneaky gate work on 11-17 from the gate at Santa Anita. And I say sneaky because the last couple of weeks, that track has reportedly playing very slow, very deep for horses. So the fact that horse was able to do what he did from the gate has this kind of potential. And we're seeing all these things to try and put, just give it every ounce of early speed it can. At 20-1, I mean, this horse is one of the reasons I was like, I think I got to hit the L button.
Yeah, I don't hate it. I mean, I could make a case for the 5 as well. Star Sailor, 5-1 on the board. I mean, the 6 would be the tough one in my mind to make a case for, but you don't really want to hit all but one and leave off a 30-1 shot because then you feel like a real jackass when that 30-1 shot wins. So I don't dislike the all button here. Some people are like, hey, play all but the 8 and the 9 or play all but the 8, right? That is not smart. Like if you're gonna go stay 9 here, just use all 9. But look, the 2 horse, I wouldn't be shocked if that horse at least gives you a thrill heading into the top of the stretch.
The trainer of the 6, I was like, I don't recognize. First of all, it's Jay Hernandez Jr. If you don't give me a first name, I don't really have anything to work with here. But it's a Los Al trainer, has never in the last 5 years has not won a single race outside of Los Al. And that was like not the LRC Los Al. I'm talking the LA nighttime quarter horse / thoroughbred. So if you had to leave one horse off, maybe the 6.
You know what screams sprint pedigree? A son of Giants Causeway out of a daughter of English Channel.
Yeah, dirt sprint. Here we go. That's a horse that just needs to be retired and be somebody's lovable pet because there's just nothing going well for that horse. What's going well for us, Mike? We got one more leg here. Let's move on. The 5th and final leg at Del Mar on Thursday, November 24th. Race 8, a field of 9 maiden juvenile fillies, +1 also eligible, sprinting 5 furlongs on the turf. That also eligible, Jay Hernandez Jr. train. don't give it a shot. Where are you going on top?
We got to talk about the one, obviously, because we mentioned a little, but I went with the 6 on top. Hazani, not just because it sounds like huzzah, but look, this is a barn that doesn't often get him out that well. Not known for first-time starters, just 4%. But this is a daughter of Tappet, right? It stands for $185,000 out of an unbridled song mare, and the workouts to me are just phenomenal. I mean, you have that work. The last one is the one that jumps out 47-3 out of a gate. But if you go back, we got a 35-2. We've got a 35 flat at Del Mar, almost 8 back. We got a 47 and change. Just consistently very fast workouts in a race where I'm not positive where the speed comes from, right? You've got the horse to the outside, the 7, who I'm going to use, who showed speed going 6 furlongs last time. The horse right to the inside, the 5, showed speed, but did so going a mile. I'm not sure if we're going to show that same speed with Mike Smith aboard going the 6 or going the 5 here over the Del Mar turf. I think this 6 could be an absolute blitz of a horse, and you get Joe Bravo up, who I was told by you is one of the only 4 jockeys that can win over this turf course. So I'm going to put the 6 horse Hazani on top here for Engler and Bravo.
I'm trying to do the math right now. I think it's actually up to 7 because Pratt and Velasquez both came back. So the number's a little higher. But Joe Bravo, especially on turf, is somebody you give a lot of attention to. I don't understand what Jeff Engler is doing here, and I don't mean that in a mean way. Jeff Engler is he hits 2-year-olds at like Belterra Park or the Horseshoe Indianapolis or Charlestown, Mahoning Valley. He gets them like these little $5,000 2-year-olds, and he's kind of like Chapman, and he'll go to these big races and try and get them graded placed and then flip them. He's showing up here with a 2-year-old who's owned and bred by Wertheimer and Frere, who had Happy Saver. They have a lot of big horses all over the world. They're a global operation. But it's also a homebred by Tappet out of an umbrella. This is a very, very well-bred horse and has great chances. Again, nothing against Jeff Engler. I don't know what the hell he's doing here with this horse, but you're getting Bravo aboard. You absolutely need to use the 6 Hazan.
Yeah, I 100% agree. It's another head scratcher. Now let's talk about the Wild Grazer, because this is the Mullins horse that came overseas that you're like, hey, wait a second. No, this makes sense. This is this specific group we talked about who did not use Mullins in the stakes race, who do use Mullins here. You talked about, where were they running? Look, Curragh. This is a running in good tracks in Ireland versus running in the bad tracks. And you're going Mullins. You get Hernandez aboard. You've got a bullet work 2 back. By the way, Mullins, 17% first time North America versus the big old goose egg for the trainer that we talked about in the stakes race. So I don't love the price. And I'm surprised the morning line, honestly, is this aggressive. I wasn't expecting 6-5 when you go through this race, but I see why you want to use that horse. Now, how has the inside post been at Del Mar in these turf sprints? You used to spit numbers at me from the inside 2 posts at Del Mar and San Anita. Has it still been as dominant in these turf sprints?
Let me look right now. That's funny. I didn't actually have that. 5 furlong. They're 2 for 8. I mean, we've only had 8 races so far this meet, but 2 of the 8 races were won from the inside, from the rail. Post 2 has a win, and post 3 also has a win. So 4 for 8 from post 1 through 3.
So you got to think that the post, well, you would think it's a detriment for a 2-year-old sprinting. It may not be such a detriment to be breaking from the rail here. That was the main point of that.
No, it's great. Also, notice who the horse, it's a filly, who she lost to last time out. It was against males, Victoria Road. Remember Victoria Road won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf. Pretty good horse in his own right there. You nailed everything else that I love about this. Juan Hernandez getting aboard for this horse is also great too, because he's just one of the best that we have right now. You know what? We're going to talk about the 2 cute Chloe, because you didn't use her. I did. Hector Barrios riding. If you watch that, the first start, she broke from the rail, was last out of the gate, going 6 furlongs, had a lot of traffic in the turn, split horses in the lane, and then the winner who won Ragtime Rose, extremely heavily favored. This horse was really able to narrow the gap considerably in the stretch. Now, 30-1 debut, 5-2 for this race. Part of the reason why the 1 is 6-5 is because the 2 is 5-2. Like, there really isn't that much to make you excited betting wise here. So I understand if you're concerned about Wedding Funeral. I also understand if you're concerned that it's Shelby Ruiz, who's her 2-year-old stats, they're not what they used to be. She used to be good with 2-year-olds. Lately, Papa Mick isn't giving her the best stock for 2-year-olds.
I used to like betting Shelby Ruiz. Now I curse myself whenever I do it. Just 8% so far on the year. This is the most overbet trip in horse racing. The horse that misses the break, that everyone sees, that then rushes up and runs a great second. We have absolutely no idea what happens if Cute Chloe has to run a fast opening quarter. And especially when they do it on debut against 2-year-olds who you have no idea what the rest of that field is like. This horse, everyone just gets excited about. It's the obvious trip trouble. It's the obvious horse. You can watch the replay. Oh, it's going to be a monster next time out. If it's Shelby Ruiz and it's this type of horse, I can't bet it. I just cannot take the price you're going to get. And you can see here, we're all the way in the back of the pack. And so all of a sudden, well, I realize this is kind of counterintuitive. The one has an advantage on everybody else who's up front now because the one horse gets to go slower early. So guess who's not as tired late? The one horse, right? And so that's right. Kind of what you see here from this trip is where you get into the motions of it, and then you make this big move and you end up running second. And it's just like, all right, well, that's a decent debut. And yeah, we're breaking from the rail. Well, now we're breaking from the 2-hole, but hey, the rail wasn't even that bad in that spot. To me, this is a horse that was 30-1 that should probably be around the 10-1 range, and you're gonna have to swallow 5-2 if you want to go for it.
All great analysis. I'm laughing because in the chat, Chris Mel is losing his mind because I was talking about horses that Wertheimer and Frere owned, and he's mad that we didn't include Spinoff, who was second in the 2019 Louisiana Derby and never ran a good race after that. Sorry. It is funny, though, because he said, Spinoff would have beat her. Spinoff would have won this race.
You won that race. I agree.
Listen, it is an angle I usually like to bet against, but there's not a lot that I loved in here. The last one for me, and I'll throw back to you, Mike. The number 5, Shirley's Bane, 6-1. This is a daughter of Justify who was routing her first 2 starts, and you would think that she's out of an Empire Maker mare. But I'm going to use her because I like the fact that she showed a lot of good early speed going 2 turns. Now, if we can get her to ration that speed, or maybe she can come from off the pace a little bit, we can try that here. But horses showing good speed early when they're going 2 turns, and now we're coming back to 1 turn. We're not buried on the rail this time. I think it's an interesting spot. I think her price is going to float up from 6-1 a little bit.
I got Mike Smith issues here. That's my main problem. I just don't want to back Mike Smith on a horse that I think is going to take some money. I think a lot of people are going to see what you saw and just say, hey, horse showed speed but quit, so we're going to short it down. Maybe this horse can run well. Princess Bettina, the horse that won that race, was a monster price. That was not a very good race. So I'm also kind of questioning what's coming out of that one. So I can see why the 6 is going to take money. It's just not my money that's going to take in this spot. I did go to the 7, Sweet Tessa. This is one where you showed that replay. Sweet Tessa was 30-1 in that race. I'm going to get 15-1 here. What is Tim Yakteen not good at?
Oh, boy, how much time do you have? I'm sorry. No, what's the question?
First-time starters. Tim Yakteen, not wonderful first out. I have no issue that this horse made the lead and quit first out. Now we're getting second out Yakteen, 15-1 with a horse that showed speed, 14% second time out. This is a logical horse that could take a step forward, and I know has speed, turf sprinting. $105,000 son of Mendelssohn, who's turned out to be a fairly good first crop sire as well. I'll give the 7 a shot at taking a nice step forward, taking this field gate to wire at 15-1.
Yeah, the Mendelssohn angle is interesting because Mendelssohn, when his first runners hit the ground in America, he was terrible as a sire. And we're like, wow, you got to fade him. And then about halfway through the summer, it felt like a switch went off and they started getting experience. Okay, now we're coming back in way. Now we're doing well. So it seemed like the very early ones, they're skewing, they're hurting his rankings, his percentage as a sire. But this feels like a good.
Run Happy was atrocious early. Yeah. We made fun of Run Happy early, and Run Happy was pretty good by later in this first season.
I didn't use the horse, but the 8 kind of blue. Did you know Mrazek was a sire? I had no idea Mrazek was standing as a sire.
That is wild, man. $2,000, not much of a sire. He's about as good as Mrazek was as a goalie.
Oh, it still is, I think. Is he still playing? I don't know, but he's a son of Square Eddie, and Redham Racing had Square Eddie until he just wasn't producing anymore. So they're trying to capture the magic here. They're going to need a big old magic wand if they want to capture that much magic.
So when I'm handicapping Redham Racing horses, if Eddie Freeman has them, don't you just chuck them?
So you brought this up earlier. Yeah, it depends on the level. So with Redham Racing, their best horses, especially dirt, Doug O'Neill gets them. The great turf horses, they're usually there. Ben Cecil will get some good turf horses, and I've discounted him. I've discounted him at my own peril before. Eddie Freeman had the horse, or has a horse in that, had one get claimed away from him in that 16K race we just talked about. That's where, when when they give him the horses, Redham gives him horses, they're usually meant for like the lower claiming levels, because Doug O'Neill will still win the big claiming races. The lower ones, that's when you kind of go to Eddie Freeman. So when it's in this situation and knowing who's involved, yes, I'm with you. I would pass on that.
Notice that Eddie Freeman's a breeder of this horse too.
Oh,
so Eddie Freeman might be the one standing Mrazek when you actually look at that. Kind of wild. Anyway, the Redham Racing hierarchy of trainers is interesting because it's part of your handicap when you're in California. Who got the Redham Racing horse and how good are they going to be, especially early on in their career?
Oh, shoot. Well, apparently Mrazek passed away last year, so no. he had 2 crops. That's it. That's why we didn't know.
So can I ask you a different question?
Of course, please. Get me out of this hole.
Leonardo Mora.
Leandro Mora. Yeah.
Whose assistant is that?
That's Doug O'Neill's assistant.
Okay. So is Doug O'Neill? Oh, yeah. Yes, that's right. He's just starting to serve the suspension. 100% knew that was someone's assistant. Because like in horse racing, when someone gets suspended, all of a sudden you're like, wait a second, this is not a terrible horse. And it's with a trainer that's never trained anyone before. Oh, okay. We're cheating the system. And it's just the assistant of the trainer that got suspended.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. And by the way, Leandro Mora was the trainer of record when Golden Sense won one of his dirt mile races because Doug O'Neill, wherever they were at, Doug O'Neill was suspended. He's been the trainer of record for a lot of Doug O'Neill's. That's why he is the one that goes over to Dubai. Leandro Mora has a much higher standing appeal in Dubai than Doug O'Neill. So, yeah.
There you go. I knew you'd
That's going to do it. That's going to do this episode of the Magic Mike Show. Thanks for watching. We're going to go ahead and give our tickets one last time here. I'll start off. I'm going to go 6-7 with 1-5 with 7, hitting the all button 1 through 9, and then 1, 2, 5, 6. Mike, you also have a $72 ticket for 50 cents, but a little different structure.
Yeah, I'm going to go 1-6 with 2-5, then 3-7-8 with 1-3-4-7 with 1-6-7, $72, just like Magic for 50 cents.
Make sure if you haven't, you're checking out Dudes Who Bet Daily. I don't know how the overall week, if we managed to bring things back up enough, Mike, but I know that Sunday was a big day for us.
Yeah, it was an awful week. I think we ended up 4-12, something ridiculous. But we were back in the positive, which is nice for the year. We had a nice little run going. This week just trounced us, but we'll be back here next week. God,
I don't know what to talk about. CFL season is done. Congrats to the Toronto Argonauts. They beat my Winnipeg Blue Bombers. However, congrats to everybody, including Dr. Tang, who bet my bet, Toronto +6, that ended up cashing. It was a hell of a game, too. If you didn't get a chance to watch, it started as a gimmick, but the fact that the game ended with back-to-back blocked field goals at the end of game-winning drives was incredible.
Well, I know that our text chain got to the point where we were watching the CFL because we all wanted to see how this thing actually played out. It was fun to get involved in that. I'm looking forward to next year. Dudes Who Bet Daily, Magic going to come back with the CFL. We've got Monday Night Football in Mexico City this week. You've got the McCoy-led Arizona Cardinals taking on San Francisco. I played San Francisco -7 earlier this week. It's now out to -10. I would probably still play San Francisco, but this game is one of those where it could get very, very ugly. I would lean toward the under because I don't know how many points Arizona is going to be able to score, and I think San Francisco is going to start grinding out the clock. You're also at altitude and with a not so wonderful small grading, so that kind of comes into it as well. Feels like these two teams just want to get out of this game, especially if one gives up big. So I would lean toward the under, specifically the second half under if San Francisco is up big at the half. If you have 17-3 in the first half, you got 21-3 in the first half, second half under is a definite play because you're going to get a similar number to the first half, and you have two unmotivated teams playing in the second half.
I got some great stats for you for why you want to play the under. And the last 8 games for the 49ers, the under is 7-1 in games after they've allowed less than 90 yards rushing. They're 6-1 for the under in their last 7 games following a straight up win. That one actually probably matters. And the under is 10-2 the last 12 times the 49ers played on grass and not turf, or do they still do AstroTurf? Probably not, but
not really.
There you go.
I am still salty about the Niners not covering 6.5 last week. That was one of the more brutal losses I've taken in a while. 3 times inside the 5-yard line, they kick a field goal and they mix extra point. I'm laying 6.5. They win by 6. Just a bunch of dicks, man. Come on. I don't know if I can handle another primetime Niners game.
I don't know if Dr. Tang is talking about the football game tonight or I think Monday's date night in the Tang household. So we're not quite sure what's going on.
I mean, we're closing in on number 2 coming out there. The bun is in the oven for both Thanksgiving dinner as well as the second baby. So
snap! Yeah, he's a couple weeks away, right? Yeah,
number 2, I believe it is for One World, Two Tangs.
Let's get out of here with this question from Dennis Trusty. If Rich Strike wins the Grade 1 Clark Stakes at Churchill Downs on Friday, does that make him 3-year-old of the year?
Hell to the no.
Now, the reason he brings it up, I think this would make him the only male with multiple Grade 1 dirt route wins. Epicenter kept winning Grade 2s. The Travers was his Grade 1.
The problem is that Rich Strike didn't dance enough dances to be able to consider horse of the or 3-year-old of the year in my mind.
Skipping the Preakness did him no favors.
No, it didn't.
In our opinion.
And he does, like, I actually think he should be the favorite in the Clark. We'll put it that way. He should be the favorite in the Clark. But I don't know how you deny Epicenter winning the Travers. So there you go. You've got the Midsummer Derby versus the Derby. One could argue one was more of a fluke than the other. We won't go there, but one could make that argument. And then Rich Strike just hasn't danced enough. I mean, you just got to run more of these races if you want to do it, especially when you consider that Epicenter won prep races coming into the Derby, ran in the Preakness, ran well, won the Jim Dandy. Like, if Rich Strike had showed up at the Haskell and won the Haskell, then there's a different conversation here. But the fact that really all you're hanging your hat on here from Rich Strike perspective is a shitty Churchill Downs race in the Clark that's being run over Thanksgiving week and the Derby, you got nothing else. And there's not a full enough resume to make the case.
I think he deserves to be a finalist. I think he did enough after the Derby to show he should be with Nest as the finalist, but Epicenter by a poll.
Based on that argument, shouldn't Taba be a finalist too then?
Taba
raced about as many times as Rich Strike did. Won multiple Grade 1s going on.
He did. I forgot. Yeah, he did.
And beat Rich Strike in the Classic. You got a second in the Haskell, a win in the Penn Derby, a win in the Santa Anita Derby, and a third in the Classic. That's a better resume than Rich Strike's.
But the Clark will be. It's not against great horses because I've seen the field, but it will be against older horses, and there are some people who think that matters when it comes to voting. I'm not one of them. I think you might have actually. If he dominates the Clark. Maybe I'll say he deserves third over Taba, but I'm sorry. You're right. Taba with the Santa Anita Derby and the Pennsylvania Derby and the Breeders' Cup Classic missing second by a head or whatever it was. Yeah,
would have won the Haskell if you saw a freaking Cyberknife on the inside.
Thanks for reminding me of that one.
You're right. You know, I don't love Baffert, but the horse you got to give credit to.
Well, half the races we talked about, Baffert wasn't in charge anyway. So, by the way, Dr. Tang let us know. T-minus 12 days, getting close. And he didn't put it in the chat, but he did text me just now. They still don't have a name for the son. So submit your ticket for the late pick 5 is what we're going to do. If you give out the winning ticket in the comment section below here, you got to do it in the comment on the YouTube channel. You will be allowed to name Dr. Tang's son when he's born in T-minus 12 days. He texted me that. It's all legit. It's on the up and up. So put in your tickets, comment below.
I still think it should be Dr. Tang Jr. Right?
We had fun.
Dr. Tang Sr. and Dr. Tang Jr.
Oh, I thought you meant literally just name him Doctor.
Well, yeah, no, I mean name him Doctor, yes, and then it could be Dr. Tang Sr. and Dr. Tang Jr. Right?
Spin off Tang. There we go. That's a good one. All right, Martin's here. Let's get serious. Martin wants to know our best bet for today. Let's do it for today/tomorrow. Oh wait, no, tonight. I'm sorry. Monday Night Football.
Across the board. I like the Cavs laying the 3 tonight against the Atlanta Hawks is the best bet. That would be my best bet across. But San Francisco -7 would be. That's not available anymore. The under I also think is interesting tonight. But I like the Cavs tonight at home laying the 3 against the Hawks.
I still like the under. I think this is going to be a gross game, and everybody wants to just get the hell back home out of Mexico. Mexico City is not a bad place, but it is a very far distance for both of these teams, especially San Francisco. So
let me check. Let me check the touchdown props real fast here, too. I think McCaffrey gets the end zone tonight.
Let's see. There we go. We'll pull up some props. Oh, that's Jimmy Garoppolo, Monday Night Football props.
McCaffrey to score a touchdown, -168. That's not wonderful. First touchdown, McCaffrey. Where are you? +431. I like that. Give me McCaffrey first touchdown, +4.5.
There you go. There's your prop. Thanks so much for watching us. Taba Tang would have been it if he beat Flightline, because, yes, that would have meant Dr. Tang might have won the BCBC. But let us know below what you think about it. Thanks so much for joining us. Make sure you follow us on Twitter. I'm at Curtis Kalleward. He is at Somobomb 18, number 1, number 8. Corporate Overlords at Race_Dudes. What you pointing at? Oh, you're just pointing at your username there. I thought there was another comment that was there. Martin, by the way, I'll do this. Martin says he likes the over in the Atlanta game there. So there you go. Good luck to you, Martin. Good luck to everybody playing until Friday, when we'll be back for a weekend show. Enjoy Thanksgiving. I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
Gobble, gobble.
The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.